Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Alison. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment and hit the notification. And if you want to get in contact with us on the socials, we are on Instagram and Facebook. And if you look below and expand the description, you're going to see those 3 free booklets: Acne More Than Skin Deep, Eczema More Than Skin Deep and Dry Skin More Than Skin Deep. Let's get started. Now, you would have previously heard me mention my sweet tooth. So one of the things I do have to work on is reducing how much sweet things I put in my smoothies or my porridge in the morning. Now, what I did leave out was in the mornings, once my porridge is in my bowl, I have a large, I would say large heaped teaspoon of honey in there. Now, I am having locally produced honey, so it's only gone through one process from the bee to the beekeeper into my bowl. It's not the supermarket stuff on the shelf, which is mainly syrup because it's been heated up and all the goodness has been taken out. So honey can spike your blood sugars, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But in my smoothies, I don't have honey, I have dates. Now, I did say before that if you're only having maybe 2 dates de-seeded in your smoothie, that's okay. It's low to medium glycemic index level, so that means fruits that won't spike your blood sugars too much. But because I'm having 4 of those, I am spiking my blood sugars. So something I do have to work on. And again, because I do have a sweet tooth, there's no way I'm just going to stop taking it just like that, because it will change the taste of the food too much. So I've got to transition out of it slowly. But what I don't want to do is start using artificial sweeteners. Now, next on the health line list is something as simple as portion control, which is easier said than done, especially living somewhere like here, the UK, or in the US, the Canada, as I mentioned before, because this part of the world, we eat way too much food, as you know, and we eat way too many carbs. So, for example, in my family, I'm known on a Saturday and Sunday as octopus hands. In the past and even now, I'll eat what's on my plate, but because all the food is put on the table, you can take your own. Once I finish what's on my plate, I will start picking up more food. I'm from the old school mentality of eating what's on your plate and not wasting food, because there's people out there starving, which is completely true, but you also shouldn't overeat. If you overeat, you spike your blood sugars. If you spike your blood sugars, you can disrupt your endocrine system, as you know, your hormonal system, and you can trigger off your acne. So be aware of your portion control and make an effort, like I do now. If I am reaching for extra food, I'm reaching for the vegetables and not the starchy foods. In the past, I was reaching for the roast potatoes on a Sunday. I'd be reaching for the white rice on a Saturday, but now I'm reaching for the vegetables that might have been tossed in a bit of garlic oil, which I absolutely love. So I will carry on eating things that are on my plate, but I'm eating better things, better choices. Now, when it comes to those better choices, because I already have restrictions like no gluten, no milk and no processed sugars, I don't calorie count and I don't watch what I eat when it comes to eating healthy options. So what I tend to do is I have little tricks. I've already mentioned the smaller plate. I have a smaller plate there. I tend to give the kids the potatoes because they love potatoes anyway. Another little cheat I do is after I finish, I get everyone to clear the plates very, very quickly before I start eating more, because in the past I would sit there and I would eat until I was full. But I know for some people who like to calorie count, then it's probably worth just weighing your food and seeing what that portion size is like. Another option is if you bought something in the packet, a healthy packet I hope, you have a look on that packet to see what that serving size is. If you bought, say, for example, ready-made noodles, like brown rice noodles or something like that, and if it's a serving size for 2 people, then make sure you're going to have it for 2 people, or take half out and only cook half. Because if you cook the whole lot, I can guarantee if that was me, I'd eat the whole lot. Now, another little trick I started about 20 odd years ago now, look way back, before I started eating for my acne, and I was eating for health and digestive reasons, was I slowed down my eating by chewing a lot more. So one thing I tried but didn't work for me was to put something in my mouth and put the fork and the knife down, chew my food and then pick up the knife and fork, but I found that quite tedious. So what I started doing instead was counting in my head and counting how many times I chewed the food. Now, I believe you're supposed to chew between 20 to 40, that's 20 to 40, 20 to 40 times per mouthful. And I've seen people, what we do in our family, I'll watch somebody intently like so, and I've seen my kids chew 5 times and swallow. And it becomes a bit of a game really, because I'll sit there watching them. They know that I'm watching. I'll watch them chew, and they'll be like, stop watching me chew. And I'm like, no, because you just chewed 3 times as far as that mouthful of rice. So it actually helps to watch other people chew, makes them paranoid. But when you're aware of your own chewing, you become more self-aware, you'll start to chew more. By chewing more, you slow down the speed at which you're eating, which means you slow down the speed with which your blood sugars are going to rise. And also you're digesting your food a lot better, because your gut starts in your mouth. You've got enzymes in your mouth which start to break down the food. So the more you chew that food, the more you're breaking the food down before it starts to go into your body. There you go. Now, if you've done this before, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, it's using a food journal. If you use a food journal, you'll become very, very aware of what size portions you're eating and what kind of food you're eating. Now, by being aware of what you're eating, you start to question what you're eating and make small adjustments. Now, even if you only do that on a temporary basis until it becomes a habit, what I found was when I was doing a food diary to work out what I was reacting to, both for my acne and my eczema, and then for my children, they did the same thing. I became aware of how much junk I was eating and how much healthy foods I was eating, and I realized the balance was completely out of whack. Now, it's only going to be a short-term food journal, otherwise it can become quite obsessive as you pinpick everything. But a food journal on a temporary basis can help you see what you're eating and therefore make adjustments. Now, by doing that, you're going to increase, hopefully, your level of healthy foods and reduce the level of unhealthy, or completely eradicate your unhealthy foods, or make them very, very temporary in your diet. By doing that, again, your blood sugars won't raise so much and your acne shouldn't trigger as much. And especially around your period or just before, because if you're anything like me, that's when you start to cluck for sugar. You start to cluck for high energy foods, whether that be sugar or fats or even salty foods. Now, one thing I did learn many years ago from a naturopath was that a woman's body can increase by about 1 degree just before her period is due. That 1 degree doesn't sound like much, but if your body temperature increases by 1 degree, you're burning more calories, you're burning more energy, which means you need more food. You feel like you need more food. Now, if you're not getting enough of the correct foods, like the good quality fats in avocados or in oily fish, if you're not getting the good quality sugars in the fruits you're eating, like mangoes and pineapples and grapes and all these berries, if you're not getting good quality carbohydrates in the sweet potatoes, you're going to go for rubbish. Because your body's craving it quite quickly. You need that quick hit. So that's why it's important to have the right foods around you or in your bag or in your pocket when your period is due. So it's also worth knowing that your period is due, to be aware that the reason you're looking out for these foods is because you're burning more energy. So just be aware of that as well. So next on the list is something called the glycemic index or the glycemic load. So you may have heard me previously mention low GI foods or GI foods and probably wonder what the heck she's talking about. Now, there is a list, it's a ratings list of 0 to 100, and it tells you which foods are low or have a low glycemic index and which ones have a high glycemic index. And diabetics tend to use this list because they don't want foods that are going to spike their blood sugars and send their diabetes crazy. Now, on this list, the lower the foods, the better. 0 to 55 is considered low. Anything after that is medium, and then obviously anywhere close to 100 is going to be the high glycemic index foods. And you'll find a lot of those processed foods are on the high glycemic index. Now, you've got high glycemic index foods, then you've also got glycemic load. So you heard me mention previously dates as an example, which have a low, even though they're sweet, they have a low to medium glycemic index. But they only have a low glycemic index if you don't have many of them. Now, I kind of pushed the boat a little. By having more than 2, I increase my glycemic load, which means that they then do spike the actual way they're going to affect my blood sugars. If I was only having 2, not a problem in my smoothie, but because I'm having 4 of them, which I need to work on, I then do start to spike my blood sugar, so that's not fantastic. So this works specifically for carbs. It looks at how quickly the carbohydrates you're eating are going to spike your blood sugars and therefore your insulin levels, or that's it really. How quick they spike or how quick they don't spike. Very, very important. Now, the speed with which your carbohydrates are digested and absorbed into the body can be slowed down by including fats and proteins into your food. So yes, I'm having those dates, but because I'm also including the chia seeds, the flax seeds and the hemp seeds, for example, and I'm also including things like the cinnamon or turmeric into my breakfasts, I am slowing down the speed with which the sugars from the dates are actually being absorbed and used by the body. So that's my get out of jail.